Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kari, and today I'm going to be giving you 5 recommendations of short books that you can read if you're a little bit behind on your 2022 reading goal and need a couple books to get through to reach your goal by December 31st. So I actually have 5 recommendations here, plus a 6th little bonus recommendation. So technically 6 recommendations of short books for you. My first 5 recommendations are probably my 5 most favorite books that are under 250 pages. And actually only one of these is more than 200 pages. The other ones are all below 200 pages. So if you're a little bit behind on your 2022 reading goal and are looking for some short books to fit in before the end of the year, stick around. I have some good recommendations for you. So first we have The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante, and this is 140 pages. And this is a literary fiction. So this one follows Lita, who's a middle-aged mom, and both of her daughters are adults now. So she's an empty nester since she's not married, and she decides one day that she's gonna go on vacation to Italy. And during this vacation to Italy, she spends a lot of time on the beach, just relaxing and reading books and enjoying herself. But every day that she's at the beach, there's these 2 other families that are at the beach as well together. And these 2 families, they have young kids, so they're kind of rambunctious on the beach. And so they're kind of distracting her from her peaceful vacation. But she starts to become really fascinated with this family and almost even being obsessive about them and thinking about them when she goes home at night and wondering what they're doing. And every day that she goes back to the beach, she still sees them again, day after day. And in particular, there's this mom and little daughter that she becomes particularly obsessed with because it's making her think about her relationship with her 2 daughters and maybe some of the mistakes she made as a mom when she was younger. And it also follows her confronting some of the ideas that she has about motherhood and how she's kind of projecting these ideas and thoughts that she has onto this mother and daughter that she sees on the beach. If you read Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason this year from the Women's Prize for Fiction and you loved it as much as I did, I would definitely recommend reading The Lost Daughter. It has very similar themes. Next, I have one of my favorite modern classics of all time, and that's We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This one is 146 pages. I've actually read this one 3 or 4 times now because I absolutely love this story. This follows 2 sisters, Maricat and Constance, and they live kind of in the middle of nowhere in this really big house with their uncle Julian. And from the beginning of the story, we understand that Constance, the older sister, was accused of poisoning the rest of their family. And because of this, all the people in the village absolutely hate these girls. Like, they're kind of like the town witches. I mean, they never say the word witch in the story, but we kind of get that idea that they're isolated and excommunicated from the town. So yeah, isolation is a huge theme of this story because the girls are isolated in this big house in the middle of nowhere with their uncle Julian. But then one day their long lost cousin Charles shows up, but his motivations are kind of a mystery. And Maricat, the little sister, has big suspicions about Charles, whereas Constance is really happy to have him around. And also, since the point of view is from Maricat, the little sister, who has some mental health problems, it's really interesting to see what she thinks about the rest of her family and Constance and Uncle Julian, and especially what she thinks about Charles and what she does because Charles arrives. The themes in this one are really interesting, and I would highly recommend this one. Next, I have We Had to Remove This Post by Hanna Bervoets. This is translated from the Dutch by Emma Rout, and it's 134 pages. So this one follows Kaylee, who works at a social media platform, basically along the lines of Facebook, but in this story it's called Hexa. And at this social media company, Kaylee works as a content moderator with a bunch of other people, and so we get to see what her job responsibilities are and how they affect her. Because we see that she sees all the horrible things on the internet that have been blocked from us, like the things that we don't see because someone has already seen them and taken them down because they're too inappropriate for the internet, for the public to see. So she's responsible for removing those things. So things that are too violent, too sexual, conspiracy theories, things like this. So since we're in her head as she's going to work day after day after day and having to look at this stuff all the time, we start to see how it affects her mentally to be looking at this all day, every day, a full-time job, looking at every possible horrible thing on the internet. How does that affect somebody? Personally, before I read this book, I never once thought about that there's real people who have to moderate what is on the internet and what's okay to stay on the internet. And so this was a really thought-provoking book for me, and I really enjoyed it. Next, I have Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So this one is kind of like a mystery fantasy mix, kind of, and it's 244 pages. So it is a little bit longer than the other books I've mentioned today, but it's totally worth it, and it reads very fast. So this one is written in journal entries from the main character, Piranesi. So through his journal entries, we understand that he lives in this really big house, and it's not just like a regular house. Like, it's basically an infinite house that there's rooms after rooms after rooms, and there's all these magical things in these rooms. So for example, in one of the rooms, like, the ocean is in the room, and in other rooms there's rows and rows and rows of like Greek and Roman statues. So like it's a very fantastical, magical house. And so in his journal, he's keeping track of everything that he finds in the house. Basically, he wants to like master the mystery of this house. But through all that, he's alone. And then once a week, he meets with someone else called the Other. And during these meetings with the Other, Piranesi reports on the things that he found that week in the house. There's not really a strong bond between Piranesi and the Other. We understand that this is kind of just like a transactional thing, that Piranesi is just providing information for the Other, but we don't know too much about who the Other is or what their motivation is. So like I said, even though there are fantastical elements to this is not really a 100% a fantasy story because it is mysterious and it's still kind of rooted in reality, but I don't want to say too much more than that. I read this when it was on the long list for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and as soon as I read it, I knew that I wanted it to win the Women's Prize that year, and then it did end up going on to win. And it's totally earned because this story is incredible. I absolutely love it. Next I have Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Larocca. This book is 112 pages and it's horror. So this takes place in the early 2000s between two main characters, Zoe and Agnes. And the whole book is just comprised of communication between these two women. And since it's the early 2000s, that mode of communication is emails and instant messaging. So the story opens with one of these women trying to sell an apple peeler online, and the other main character in the story is the one who is trying to buy the apple peeler. So in the beginning of the story, the communication between these two women is really benign and really just about the apple peeler and like the history of the apple peeler. Like it's really innocent. But then over time, these women start to have a closer and closer relationship to each other, despite the fact that they've only ever talked via email and instant message, and their relationship together starts to get darker and darker. It's a really weird, uncomfortable read. And finally, my little bonus recommendation, it's kind of like my sixth recommendation, is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So since it's December, I couldn't not recommend A Christmas Story. And A Christmas Carol is pretty short, so I think that this would be a good thing to fit in before Christmas and boost your numbers before the end of the year. So my copy, it looks kind of big because there's A Christmas Carol in here, but also some other short stories from Dickens about Christmas. But A Christmas Carol is only 92 pages, so it's pretty short. So obviously A Christmas Carol is a huge classic, and what better time of the year to be reading it than right now, just before Christmas. It's a great way to get into the Christmas spirit. So yeah, these are my 6 recommendations of short books to help you reach your end of the year reading goal. I hope that you found something here that's interesting to you and that's going to help you reach your goal. If you like this video, please give it a like. I would really appreciate it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you back, and I'll talk to you again next time. Bye!